Every season, the NBA tries to crown a new rival for Nikola Jokic, but the only player who consistently emerges from the chaos is Luka Doncic, a star who bends the sport in ways that feel strangely familiar to anyone who watches Denver closely. Analysts across the league talk about how the two slowest superstars in modern basketball have managed to dominate the fastest era in history, turning speed into an optional feature and athleticism into a convenient accessory rather than a requirement. What makes the comparison even more fascinating is the idea circulating among scouts and coaches that Jokic does not see Luka as just another rival, but as the only player capable of operating in the rare air he occupies. Yet despite the similarities, insiders point to a hidden reason Jokic remains the more unstoppable force, a reason that reveals itself only when you step inside the world he controls. Observers often start by pointing out that Jokic and Luka share a foundation that breaks traditional scouting logic. Neither relies on vertical explosion or twitch speed. Both dominate by controlling pace rather than accelerating past defenders. They dismantle elite schemes with angles, footwork, touch, and manipulations most players cannot even process in real time. Analysts frequently highlight that their efficiency numbers remain elite, regardless of who defends them or how aggressively they are pressured. Coaches who prepare for them describe the feeling as trying to solve an equation with no fixed answer, because every possession becomes a new puzzle.
This strange overlap between physical limitations and mental dominance has led many analysts to label them basketball outliers, players who weaponize IQ to such a degree that athleticism becomes irrelevant.
This unusual shared blueprint is what convinces many people around the league that Jokic and Luka belong to the same strategic species, yet it also sets the stage for the deeper contrast that separates them. A growing theory in basketball circles describes Luka as an engine of controlled chaos, while Jokic represents total order. Luka overwhelms opponents with unpredictable creativity, constantly forcing defenses to react to a storm of stepbacks, hard drives, foul pressure, and misdirection. Jokic operates on the opposite frequency. He removes randomness entirely by steering possessions toward the highest percentage outcome with almost mechanical inevitability. Luka beats you with improvisation, while Jokic beats you with inevitability, and that difference is repeatedly echoed by analysts who study their film. Jokic compresses the game into a simple sequence where every read has already been mapped, while Luka thrives by making choices that defenses cannot anticipate.
This contrast mirrors the difference between a storm and a tide, where Luka crashes into opponents with force and Jokic slowly erodes their structure until resistance becomes pointless.
This contrast is one of the reasons many believe Jokic still retains an upper hand when their worlds collide. Another widely discussed contrast is the emotional profile each superstar brings onto the court. Luka plays with fire, frustration, momentum swings, and visible intensity. That energy fuels his creativity, but also creates volatility that opponents sometimes use against him. Jokic maintains an unshakable calm, performing like someone who has disconnected emotion from execution entirely. Broadcasters and former players often say that Jokic's biggest advantage is his refusal to be sped up no matter how chaotic the environment becomes. His steady presence stabilizes Denver on nights when Luka's fire can lead to arguments with officials or rushed possessions. Analysts argue that this emotional difference contributes directly to consistency, especially in high-pressure playoff situations, and it provides another layer to the long-standing belief that Jokic wins by controlling every variable, including his own temperament. Luka is extremely strong for a guard and uses his shoulders, leverage, and pivots to carve space, but he still relies on body angles rather than immovable mass. Jokic's ability to establish deep position without exertion allows him to decide when possessions end, and defenders rarely succeed in shifting him even an inch.
Some coaches privately admit that Jokic's balance is one of the few traits in the league that cannot be replicated through training, making him a physical anomaly rather than merely a strong player.
This physical foundation gives Jokic an economy of movement that analysts say contributes to his longevity and makes it harder for defenses to apply meaningful pressure. Even more compelling is the discussion about decision speed and anticipatory IQ. Several analytics-based experts argue that Luka sees the floor as well as any guard since prime LeBron, but Jokic processes the game a fraction earlier. The difference is not reaction time, but prediction. Jokic often identifies the correct pass or scoring angle before the action fully develops, allowing him to manipulate defenders into positions that create guaranteed outcomes. Coaches frequently highlight that Jokic does not hunt highlights because he is already ahead of the rotation, while Luka thrives on reading and exploiting what appears in front of him.
Film analysts point out that Jokic's reads look simple only because he detects patterns before others can register them, making difficult plays appear effortless and allowing his game to scale without added risk.
This half-second advantage, according to many who study their tape, is one of the hidden reasons Jokic remains slightly more unguardable even when Luka records massive scoring nights. But there is also a significant contrast in how each superstar carries his team's offensive burden. Luka often operates as the single creator, generating a massive portion of the Lakers' possessions through scoring, driving, and playmaking. Jokic distributes responsibility in a different way, elevating teammates until their efficiency spikes dramatically. Role players around Jokic consistently shoot better, cut more effectively, and find easy opportunities simply by existing within his orbit. Analysts note that this reduces Jokic's physical load while increasing Denver's offensive sustainability. Luka to create difficult shots to maintain pace, while Jokic creates easy ones that repeat possession after possession. This difference in burden distribution is frequently cited as a long-term separator in both efficiency and playoff resilience. When looking toward the future, experts split into two camps. Some believe Luka will eventually rewrite offensive records and become the most statistically dominant player of his era. Others argue that Jokic's style will age more gracefully because it is built on efficiency, prediction, and simplicity rather than constant high-usage creation. Analysts repeatedly compare their dynamic to historical rivalries, where contrasting styles defined an entire generation. What stands out most is how both players continue to evolve at a pace that leaves defenses scrambling to adjust. The consensus among many insiders is that Jokic and Luka are on track to define this era the way Magic and Bird defined theirs. Yet Jokic currently maintains an edge rooted not in athleticism or flash, but in a deeper mastery of simplicity.
Even as Luka expands his scoring arsenal and continues to push statistical boundaries, many analysts expect Jokic's approach to remain the more sustainable blueprint for long-term dominance. In the end, the hidden reason Jokic remains more unstoppable than Luka comes down to the difference between overwhelming the game and understanding it with total clarity. Luka reshapes defenses through force, unpredictability, and brilliance, while Jokic reduces the sport to its most efficient form and warps every possession into a guaranteed outcome. Both stars are rewriting the boundaries of what dominance looks like without the traits traditionally associated with superstardom, and neither seems close to reaching a ceiling. If analysts are right, the story of modern basketball will revolve around these two for many years, but for now, Jokic sits slightly above the field, not because he runs faster or jumps higher, but because he sees the game in a way that feels almost inevitable. Their rivalry may become the defining story of the era, not because they clash directly, but because they represent two opposing paths to basketball mastery. With Jokic currently standing one step ahead in a race neither seems close to finishing.
Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit like if you want more deep breakdowns, and subscribe for more stories that reveal the truth behind the headlines. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next upload.